Data analytics and artificial intelligence are today the most important platforms to support the growth of any organization. In this area, Derivo is a strategic partner offering to their customers expert services that include data management, data visualization, predictive analytics, business intelligence, data science, data security, and cloud computing. We have helped customers like HSBC, Sanofi, and Bimbo to generate significant savings in their business, identifying new growth opportunities and reducing risk through data analytical platforms that improve their decision-making, transforming companies to be more informed with data-driven decisions. Derivo is a partner of the best data analytics technologies: Power BI, ClickSense, Tableau, Snowflake, Databricks, Synapse, Azure Machine Learning, etc. Staff your data analytics backlog in a nearshore schema with a certified team of consultants. Derivo, release the power of data.
Hello, I'm Dr. Beverly Wright, and welcome to Tag Data Talk. With us today, we have Sandy Steiger, Senior Director of Advanced Analytics at Total Quality Logistics. Welcome. I'm glad you're here.
Thanks.
I love your personality. Like, it's so hard to find sometimes people that are willing to kind of go out there in the data science world. So it's very cool to meet you in person. And today we're talking about communicating the value of data science to senior leaders without losing the room.
Absolutely.
So let's start off with a little background information. Tell us, Sandy, why are you so cool?
Well, I've always been a nerd, which is cool now, as you pointed out just before. So I've always been a math and stats nerd. I've loved working with numbers. So when I went to school, college, I thought, wouldn't it be really fun to major in math? Who says that? Not many.
Me?
Yeah. Not many of us. And when a personality like mine, I think, doesn't fit in that world because it is so much more introverted. And when I thought, what am I going to do when I graduate? It's like, shoot, I'm going to be an actuary. Nothing, there's anything wrong with that. My personality did seem bigger, right outside of that room. So, that's why I'm so cool, is because I am the person who likes to show up in a room, talk about data in a way that helps people understand it.
Love it.
Yep.
Love it. Very cool. Well, when we're talking about communicating the value of data science, it kind of leads to, well, why are we talking about this? Like, why is that not like an obvious thing? So let's first start with why the practice of data science storytelling is important at all. Like, wouldn't this just happen naturally? Because I've had students in the past. So, I was a professor for like 22 years. And they've said, well, as long as I did the analysis right, aren't they just going to listen?
So what I've found is numbers are hard for most people, right? Numbers, looking at a statistic, knowing what to do with that information, it's really challenging. And then when you have the technical people in the room who want to show off what they did, they use the jargon, right? And they want to oversell all the cool stuff, the methodologies, the algorithms, the models, the output, what it means. And immediately you see kind of the glazing over of the eyes, the pointing back to the phones, or shuffling through the deck to try to figure out what's coming next, and you lose their interest. So what I found is, boil it down, simplify it. And that's where the true value is going to come in, because if people don't understand it, they're not going to believe it. They're not going to care. And it's going to go in the waste bin when you walk out of the room.
Wow, that's frightening. So the overselling, let's unpack that a little bit. I know I had a student one time and I think I've actually talked about this poor guy in prior episodes, and he had tons of slides. I mean, Sandy, this was like a 80 slide deck that he was putting in front of our client. It was this big financial services company. And I said, dude, what are you doing? And he said, well, Dr. Beverly, he loved calling me that. He said, well, how else are they going to know all the hard work I did? And I said, man, that's not the objective, So tell us about this overselling that you're referencing. What does that mean? And why do people do that?
So when I think about my time in school, right? Well, think about when you're in school, right? You're writing a paper or you're doing math homework. You have to show all of your work, right? We're taught to show all of our work, everything that we did, and how did you get to the answer? Because you'll get partial credit. You'll get partial credit if you do that. And so we've trained people to do that. We've trained all of these wonderful, amazing, talented, creative people to show all of their work. So in their mind, it's like, I want everyone to know everything I did because I worked so hard on this. And so when you tell me 80 slide deck, I cringe, right? Because I think I used to go through decks similarly that an analyst would put together. And I'd say, well, this slide says the same thing as the slide before it. How's it different? It's not cut it or combine. Now I tell my people, you have, I guess, depending on the length of our meeting, but most of the time you're going to hear from me, you get 5 slides. You get 5 slides to sell your point. They freak out. How can I do it in 5 slides? I said, if you can't do it in 5 slides, you've lost your audience. They're gone. Now, if you're in a very technical room with very technical audience, you can go into the jargon, right? And you can go into more of the nitty gritty details in a peer review session. But when you're talking to senior leaders, they don't care about how you got the answer. They want to know, what is the answer and why the hell should I care? What do I do with the information now that I know it?
So just get to the bottom line.
Get to the bottom line.
Okay.
Yes.
So we talked about the overselling and the being trained that way in a sense. Is there something about how data science and advanced analytics people are sort of hardwired that kind of ties into this as well? I got to believe there's some kind of DNA thing going here.
Probably yes. This is where I feel like I kind of am a different character and I'm out of place most of the time because I don't shoot my horn very often, but I'm going to right now, which is I do have the technical skill set. I have that technical mind, but I also have I understand people and I can empathize a lot with people. So I'm able to bring those two worlds together. And I think most technical people are wired to be the, I basically want to put the binary on the paper. I want to put that code on the paper and show people, do you see the 1,600 lines of code I wrote to get you that number? Wow, isn't that impressive? Then I say, so I'm going to tell everybody that 2 + 2 = 4. Okay, sounds good. Let's walk out of the room now. And no, they don't like that, right? But I have a better track record of getting my audience to do something, take action with the information because I communicate it in a way that I know they're going to understand in the words that that resonates with them.
Okay, I got you. So some of the things that make this difficult are that there's a tendency to oversell. Part of it is that we're trained that way, like show your work. And another part has to do with the character that just comes along with that mindset. And it sort of reminds me of I had to delete a model that was probably one of my favorite models of all time. And I was so torn deleting it. It's like I work for a regulated industry and you can't just hold on to these models. So let's shift just a little bit and talk about why this is so important. One thing that you pointed out that is certainly why it's important is that if you don't tell the story in a way that resonates to senior leaders, it's going to get thrown in the trash. Are there other hazards of not being able to communicate the story in a meaningful way that we can highlight?
We know the statistic, right? That a majority of data science or the majority of work that a data science team does in most organizations doesn't go anywhere. And I think a lot of that comes down to the fact that we aren't able to communicate to the business in a way that resonates, in a way that makes them want to do something with the information. I know I keep harping on that point, but I really think it boils down to that, is that we're not. So let's go. I'm going to tell a little story about an experience I had where I just sell this idea of doing some really complex machine learning, algorithm building, and putting it into production. I sat down and I really thought about who my audience was. I knew one person in the room, he had a tendency to move ahead. So I made sure that the slides were built in such a way that he could draw and doodle so he wouldn't get distracted. And then I knew that the CEO in the room, he loved talking about how advanced our analytics and data science techniques and capabilities were. So I made sure to use a lot of the words that I'd heard him say in other meetings. So I got his head nodding, right? And so then I had other people who weren't necessarily sold on this idea of data science and analytics. So instead of telling them how amazing our work was and how right and confident we are in the results, I actually started to highlight, here's where it's not right. let's talk about that first, right? Here are the times when this isn't going to work right for us. Fortunately, that's only 10% of the time.
Right.
90% of the time, we should feel really good about these results. So I'm able to sell people because I think about what's going to resonate. And then how do I make sure I keep you engaged and I keep moving?
Love it, love it, love it. So you're talking about literally speaking their language,
Correct.
using some of their key terms,
Correct.
and truly understanding their side of the business. How can a data scientist who's really focused on quant, model, stats, a numerical person, what are some of the strategies that they can use to help them understand that business side?
The thing that they hate hearing me say, which is go meet with people, go talk with people.
Yeah.
There's not going to be the go-between that I meet with the business. I understand their business requirements, what they need, and I come back to you and tell you what to build. You have to build those relationships. And that's sort of why I've been able to be successful, is because I spend time meeting people where they are, getting to know them, understand what keeps you up at night. What are those problems? It's really easy, right? When they have a hypothesis and you're able to prove the hypothesis the first time you work on something, because then they're more likely to, oh no, Sandy knows what she's talking about. She pulls some really good stuff together. But I do try to find those opportunities where I can confirm what they think with data so that I build that trusting relationship. By the way, I'm never going to manipulate numbers to tell somebody what they think they know. It has to be the right, I'm going to deliver the numbers as they should be delivered.
Yeah.
But
I got you.
I always feel like I have to say that.
Yeah. Well, and that ties back. One of the things you said triggered me a little on the, on why this is so difficult, and also on the, why is it important that we tell the right story? Because we talked about the trash, and a couple of other things you said make me think that this, by not telling the story in the right way, not only do we not get our work used, but they may lose respect for our work, and they may just see it as a bunch of research studies, that it's not having real impact on the business. So does that make sense to put those and lump those together?
Yeah.
Okay. And then as far as how to tell a better story, you talked about speaking their language literally, and taking the time to immerse yourself in their business, that you understand what decisions you're trying to get to. Now, I want to unpack this piece a little bit, because you're talking a little bit about something people call a translator. Are you saying don't use a translator, that it has to be directly to data scientists? Or are you saying have a translator within the data science group? What's your thought on the whole translator thing?
I know that term rubs a lot of people the wrong way.
It
does
can
not rub me the wrong way. I actually take pride in that, because it says to me, you can talk the talk of the business and you can walk the walk of a data scientist. And I love that. I love that, because I understand I can communicate in both worlds. And I think that's why I've been put in some of the situations that I've been in, because I can bring the business along. I show up with confidence in a room. I say, here's why you should believe me. I have the credentials to back me up, but I also understand the business and what your priorities are and the decisions you have to make. And that's what I want to help you solve. That's the thing that I want to help you with.
Love it. And I think what you're saying, the net of it is you're saying there's not a silver bullet. You got to take the time. You got to invest. You have to find a way, step into their shoes. And as an example, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this. So I run a nonprofit, and this project that we did a while back ago was around reducing opioid addiction. And so before we started playing with the data, I said, y'all, I feel like we need to go meet with people that are addicted to opioids. And we literally got up and went into this meeting with this nonprofit called Davis Direction Foundation in Marietta, Georgia. And we met with people that are, admittedly addicted to opioids. And they said that made the data completely different, the way they analyzed it and the way they did it. That's kind of what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Is to really meet them where they are and understand their business. You can't just take a magic pill and just know what kind of answers they're looking for and what's going to be impactful and meaningful to them.
I actually love what you just described there. Yes, it makes the data, it brings a different life to the data. And when you're analyzing it, right, and you build a model and you get some output, it helps you better understand how to interpret it, right? And it also to the point of, does it even make sense in reality, right? So something could come back as being statistically significant, but when you think about it from a real world perspective, does it matter, right? And so what can we impact? I think it brings so much more life and context to the data. I always like to think about what incremental data or what other thing can I bring into the picture to add color to the analysis that I've done.
Love it.
And so you have those actual verbatim stories from people.
Yeah.
Real stories.
That's fantastic. So our last question here, I get to talk about this forever. What can we do as a community? Because we haven't been doing something right, because we do sort of fall short on this, right? I mean, I feel like of all the people I talk to, the two things that I hear we're lacking are, number one, we're really lacking on framing the business problem. We're answering the wrong problems, or we're just doing analysis that we want to do. We're not really answering the problem that we're supposed to answer. So that's a problem. And then the back end, which is we're not telling the story in the right way. So we're falling down somehow. What can we do as a community to improve where we are?
Let's not do anything in silos, right? We actually have to embed ourselves within the business, embed ourselves with the partners, the requester of the information, the requester of the data, and ask more questions up front. The whole 5 whys, right? So it's not just why, but really dig into what is it you're trying to do? What decision are you trying to make? How will you use this data to drive business value? That helps shed a whole new light, right, on what it is that you're trying to answer, what you're trying to solve for. And then on the flip side of it, I think we kind of hit on it in the beginning, where it's more of me as the analyst, as the data scientist, I really want to show off everything that I did. And so I'm going to throw it all out there. Fine. I've actually I say to my data scientists now, I'll say, you do that with me. Do that with me. And then I'm going to help you boil it down. I'm going to help simplify it. And we're going to bring it down to it or package it up in a way that I know that the business will be able to understand and be able to consume it. But we have to support each other in that way. And also, as really, really smart data scientists, we have to be okay with hearing that won't resonate. That message isn't going to resonate. That visual requires your audience to analyze your analysis. Is that your intention? Because I bet it's not, right? Your deliverable, when you walk out of the room, should live and breathe without you. No one should need your voiceovers. It should all be great visuals where the insight pops. Your headlines tell that story, so they could pull those off the page, and everything lives on without you. Yeah, that's what I try to push with my team.
The independence of the deck.
Yes.
Oh, I love it. So you said a lot of cool things. So one was ask more questions up front.
Yes.
Almost to the annoying, second grader of like, why? Well, why? Well, why? Well, why? Why do you want me to build a model? Why do you want me to forecast this? And ask them, how are you going to use this? What are you planning? What actions are you willing to take? Cause sometimes I don't think they think about that. They use this. It's sort of the curse of the nice to know. They use this whole nice to know thing. I ain't got time for nice to know.
I don't have time for that.
I ain't got time for nice to know. We need to know, what can we do to help you with your business? What's going to have an impact? Another thing you mentioned was, I love this suggestion. Provide that outlet that's needed for the nerd to nerd convos. Provide that first pass, hey, tell me, explain to me, show me. I remember one time, oh my gosh, Sandy, my boss asked to see my model and I was over the moon. I was like, and he didn't know anything about it, but I walked him through step by step. And I was like, and then I did this and then I did that. I ran 7 factor analysis just to get this one. And I ended up with a score. Oh, it was so exciting, but give an outlet, provide a path for them to have those nerd to nerd convos before they build that deck.
Yep.
Also, they absolutely, and we keep harping on this one, but you absolutely must know the needs of the requester. That's what I call them too. I love that you say that. And lastly, ask yourself will this survive without your voiceover? Can this thing tell a story without having you walk through every step of it? Is that kind of?
Yes, you boiled it down great.
Oh, good.
Very good summary.
I think too, one thing I'll add is that if we can get people immersed in some of the hackathons, I host something called Master Modeler Competition, and it's a part of the whole Birchworks Cares thing that we do. It's usually for a good cause. This year it's with the National Center for Housing and Child Welfare. I think I said that right. Welfare. To help kids from going homeless after they age out of foster care. And so people from the community just doing that kind of work, that they're going cradle to grave on a project. Because I got to tell you, in the professor world, it's very difficult to get them all the way through that experiential learning, and then once they start a job, it's like you're relying only on the job. But if we can get people to participate in hackathons and just kind of exercise that storytelling,
Yes.
especially if it's like a passion, it's something that's going to make an impact to the community. Maybe that'll help too.
Yeah. It takes practice.
It does.
It takes so much time, and it can be infuriating and frustrating. And then having people hack away at your visuals and hack away at your story.
Yeah.
But it makes it better in the end. And also, one last thing, piece of advice is show up, be yourself, have personality.
I
I think
love
that really does sell your message. Have confidence in your deliverable. Be excited about the work, no matter what it is. Find something that you can learn out of every single experience.
Yeah. And that, you stole my question. It was, what final piece of advice would you give for someone who's really trying to communicate an effective data science story without losing the room? And it sounds like, really get into it and be yourself. Is that what you'd say?
Yes. I within a couple of months, I was able to build confidence within people in the work that my team was doing. And I hadn't been there that long, right? But I showed up with a voice for the business of the data, and I commanded the room. Gosh, that sounds super conceited to say.
No.
But I have an ability to do that because I'll show up I have a presence, I have a personality, and I make sure that everyone knows I do know what I'm talking about. I love this stuff, and here's how it's going to make you better. Ooh, that was very loud. Yeah.
It's all good. It's all good. Excellent. Well, thanks again to Sandy Steiger from Total Quality Logistics for being with us on Tag Data Talk.
Thank you, Beverly.